Okay, thank you, Rahul, for reminding about the recording. Yeah, so Lord Krishna is telling the result of tolerating things in the material world. Many times we have to tolerate things, or most of the times we have to tolerate things in material world. Only very few things are in our control. But most of the things, well, we don't have a choice. We have to tolerate. And we discussed what is tolerating at 4 different levels. Tolerating things when you do out of desire, out of fear, out of duty, and out of love. In the previous shloka also, 2.14 purport, Prabhupada explained like how, for example, a lady has to cook in the kitchen in summertime. It is very painful, but she has to tolerate the pain and cook. So that example was given in 2.14 purport. Similarly here, in 2.14, Prabhupada is giving, in the purport, Prabhupada is giving an example of sannyasa life. Sannyasa life is the most painful thing, because he has to cut down the attachments with the family, with the relatives and everyone. He has to come out of that comfort zone and completely depend on Krishna for his yoga kshema, because there is no guarantee that someone will take care of him. When in need, there is no guarantee that someone will take care of him. But still, because he has put complete faith on Krishna and surrendered to Krishna, and he is able to tolerate, he's ready to tolerate things, then he's eligible for liberation. So the result of tolerating is one becomes eligible for liberation. The result of tolerating things in the material world is one becomes eligible for liberation. Yeah. So, looking at Arjuna's situation, so generally we derive happiness from family members and relatives, from our kinsmen. But Arjuna's situation was to even fight with them. So the same people from whom we derive happiness, he had to fight. So tolerating that is very painful. And Arjuna, Krishna encouraged Arjuna to tolerate that and fight for a higher cause. So in the beginning, Arjuna said, how can I be the cause of the death of my kinsman? And then Krishna started giving knowledge of the soul. In 2.10 and 11, 2.10 and 11, Krishna said, Dehinosmin yata dehe kaumaram yavanam jara tata dehantara praptis dhirasthastranamhyate. And the verse before that, Natvevaham jatu nasam natvam neme janadipa nachaivana bhavishyamaha sarve vayam adapara. So in 2 shlokas, Krishna gave the knowledge of the soul, saying that never was there a time I did not exist, nor you, nor all these kinsmen. And in Dehinosmin yata dehe, Krishna said, just like how the body changes from birth to childhood to youthhood to old age and death, similarly, the soul transmigrates from one body to another at the time of death. So in 2 shlokas, Krishna gave knowledge of the soul. But Arjuna's thinking was, I'm still identifying myself with the body. So, I'm still identifying myself with the body, and how can I tolerate any pain that is causing to the body? That was Arjuna's situation. That was the first time Arjuna was hearing about the soul. Now, all of us, we have heard about the soul many times, but we do not have the practical wisdom of it. and we are still identifying with the body. So how can we ignore the body and start identifying the soul, identifying with the soul? So that's why Krishna is telling about tolerance in 2.14, 15, and 16. So Krishna is telling about about tolerance. So when you tolerate, first you learn to tolerate small things. Then you will be able to tolerate the biggest things. And the most dangerous thing or the most biggest thing to tolerate is death. So while living itself in the material world, if we start learning to tolerate small things, both happiness and good and distress. I mean, before you even start learning to tolerate distress, the best thing is to learn how to tolerate happiness. If we do that, then we will be able to learn tolerating distress. Because if we don't learn to tolerate happiness, then we get excited for small things, and we always want happiness. We want more and more happiness. We become more greedy, and we will never be able to take any small amount of pain. So, there's a very deeper meaning. When Krishna said, learn to tolerate happiness also, that means unless you, in one sense, we can understand that unless we learn to tolerate happiness, we cannot learn to tolerate distress. That's another way to look at it. So,
Prabhuji, sorry, I did not get that last point. Unless, yes.
Yeah. So the point is, in 2.14, if you look at the translation, right? Krishna says, happiness and distress are just like winter and cold. They come and go, and one must learn to tolerate. That's what Krishna said. Okay?
Yes.
Now, how do we implement that practically? How do we practice that in our day-to-day life? So when Krishna says, tolerate happiness and distress, both. Now, tolerating, in one sense, both are difficult. Okay? In one sense, both are difficult. Tolerating pain, tolerating distress is definitely difficult. And if you're so attached to sense gratification, and if you're so attached to material world, things in the material world, then tolerating happiness is also a difficult thing. But compared to distress, tolerating happiness is relatively much easier. So what I was trying to say is, unless we practice or we learn to tolerate happiness, we will never be able to learn to tolerate distress.
But we are always trying to extend our happiness.
Yeah.
So is that what you're saying, that when you tolerate is like, should not go woman chasing that? Always want to be happy, want to be happy. That's all we're doing, right?
Yes. Yeah, one thing after the other, one thing after the other. It never ends. So that's why if you learn to tolerate happiness in one thing, let's say even without your conscious effort, you get some happiness. And that's what happens. Whatever happens in our life, it comes on its own accord. That's what Krishna says in later shlokas. Happiness and distress, they come on its own accord. Even if you don't strive for it, they'll come. Even if you don't invite distress, it will come. Similarly, happiness also. When Krishna is giving distress, why not happiness also? So he gives both. But since we are so engrossed and so much focused on only distress, we don't see happiness in our life. We did some small exercise, right? I asked everyone to count the red objects in the room. Everyone said 11, 12, 13, like that. Now, when I asked the same person to tell how many blue objects are there, they could not tell. So the red objects indicate distress, and the blue objects, or let's say green object, indicates happiness. Since when difficulties arrive, we are so focused and we are so bogged down with the difficulties, we don't pay attention to the happiness. But they all come. Happiness and distress, they all come and go. But if we learn to tolerate happiness and not become greedy and not put extra endeavor to get more happiness by doing small things, then you will be able to take pain also. You will be able to tolerate pain also. Yeah. So if you compare the life of a materialistic person and a spiritualist, so materialistic person, what do? They want parties almost every day, and they want vacations more often, and they need entertainment more often. So they always indulge in sense gratification. So they spend a lot of money and a lot of effort. They go here and there. Still, they are not satisfied. They have temporary happiness, but they are not satisfied. They are not content. But if they learn to tolerate that happiness and learn to become content, see, when you learn to tolerate happiness, you become content. You become self-satisfied. You're not looking for happiness in the external objects. You seek happiness from within. So that is what, learning to tolerate happiness means. Not looking for happiness in external objects, but being content and seeking happiness from within. So if we do that, then we'll be able to practice learning, tolerating distress. Is that clear, Rahul?
Yeah, Prabhuji, got it.
Yeah. Because relatively, if you compare distress and happiness, tolerating happiness is relatively easier. So if you practice this, you can practice tolerating distress also.
But Prabhuji, that is what drove me to Krishna consciousness though, is that I did not feel the content or happiness with things. I felt like happiness will go away very quickly, or it wasn't like satisfying me in the inside. But that was my driving force to even come and discover more.
Yeah.
Versus push me the other way, like thinking, oh, let's do more things to, go in the crazy rabbit hole.
Yeah.
I found a different way to, what is my purpose? Why am I here? Why am I not feeling happy?
Yeah.
Things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing, feeling that's something we need more, but you have to put that in the right way. You can go in the wrong ways and be very materialistic and like keep continuing to look things, but if you look inside and like find out why you're not happy, it's because you're not connecting with God. That's why you're not happy.
Yeah. Yeah. If one is able to introspect and think, irrespective of what I'm doing, I'm not being content, I'm not satisfied. Why? If one is able to do that, then that is great. But 99% of the people, that they don't do that. If they are not satisfied, they think, oh, I need to go on 10 more vacations, then I'll be satisfied. That is how usually people think. So very few people like you, like Arjun, like Ashok, or like me think that okay, so despite all my efforts, I'm not being satisfied. That means there is something wrong in what I'm doing. There is something wrong in the way I'm trying to find happiness. So I need to look for happiness in a better place. So very few people think like that. But yeah, if one is able to do that, then that's ideal.
But Prabhu, one question.
Mhm.
So, but everyone outside who actually attends these parties and then vacation, so it appears that they all happy, right, at every point.
it appears that they are all happy. It appears that they are all happy.
And that's why others also will try to do the same. Will actually create the path to go in that direction only. So I'm not understanding. So you are saying it is not really giving any happiness to them, right? So still everyone is going on the same path.
It gives temporary happiness. Okay, it gives some happiness, and it's temporary.
Okay.
Depending on the activity and the situation, the happiness may last for a few hours, or a day, or few days, few months, and then after that, it will fade away.
Okay.
In
So
fact,
then
there is a shloka in Bhagavad Gita, I think chapter 4 or 5, where Krishna says, whatever object gives you happiness in this material world, the same object will be the source of distress for you. So whatever object gives you happiness, the same object will be the source of distress for you. So it's a very what is the right word? It's a very alarming statement. It's a very alarming statement. Not many people know about it. So
I think the keyword is appears happy. Like you can look
appears.
outside.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can be the party, but also feel very like alone, sad or dissatisfied.
Yeah. And all the people who attend parties and they appear to be happy, they're all pretending. They're all pretending.
I feel like a left out or an odd man out.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, same.
I can't gel because I know a couple of folks.
Yeah.
Because cake they had tea.
Yeah.
So they have Coke or soda. Just out or something just non-caffeinated.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's very weird because I don't eat anything. It looks like an odd man out.
Yeah. Yeah, not only that, I cannot even talk some of the things they talk, like stock market and sports, all those things. I cannot politics. I cannot talk those things. So I'm very poor at those subjects.
Money and
Yeah.
which vacation you went, and nobody has any concept of spirituality or they talk about the sadness, right? Oh, this happened to me, that happened to me.
Yeah.
Let me just lament to.
Yeah.
You should really think about, instead of being grateful for what you have.
Yeah.
It's like that something stuck in your teeth. Your tongue always goes there, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Just keep going and talking about that repeated.
Yeah.
They don't want to go find a solution, or they don't want to. They put you in that energy, that negative energy. They're not uplifting you.
Yeah. Yeah. And so see what happens in all the parties. Same topics, right? Same topics. Politics, sports, movies, stocks, or any jewelry, houses, assets, gossip, Grama Katha. This is called Gramya Katha. So this is what happens in all the parties. Same subject, same agenda, same repeated stories. After 3 or 4 parties, they get bored. But they pretend that they are happy discussing those topics, and they appear to be happy. But whereas us, the devotees who are practicing Krishna consciousness, we also do the same thing, same kirtan, same Bhagavad Gita, same Bhagavatam, same Ramayana, everything same. But our happiness is always new. Our experience is always new. Our realizations are new. And we want to do more and more. We don't pretend. I mean, if we are pretending, we wouldn't be here for 1.5 years or 2 years, sticking together with all of us like this. So we don't pretend. We are naturally happy. Whereas the people in the parties, they appear to be happy. They pretend. They pretend to be happy. And looking at them, not so wise people, they think that, oh, they are really happy, and they also follow the crowd. It's a herd mentality. And after joining the party, they, even if they don't feel happy, they pretend. So if a person looks at 10 other people who are pretending to be happy, now this person, 11th person, joins that party, so he should not be left out, right? So he will also pretend. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if it gives happiness or not, but I will attend parties for my time pass because I will get bored. That is.
So you will get bored if you don't attend parties?
No, sitting in the home, it is getting bored. So that's why I will attend parties, and I think that will give some happiness. That is how I think in general.
Yeah, the same thing. The same happiness or better happiness you can get by coming to the temple. You can come to the temple, you can participate in the services, you can read Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, Ramayana. You can do many things in devotional life. It takes some time. Initially, because you are so attached, not only you, many people who are just practicing Krishna consciousness, starting their journey on Krishna consciousness, they can't avoid all these things suddenly, right? So it takes some time. Slowly and gradually, you will be able to do that. So just continue doing whatever you are doing, and you will realize by experience.
Okay.
Very soon you will realize this side of life is much better than what you are doing now.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. Until that time, keep continuing your social life. That is at least better than you yourself sitting alone at home. Because the social health is also important.
Yeah.
The World Health Organization defines health of a person as a healthy person is healthy only when he is physically healthy, emotionally healthy, socially healthy, and spiritually healthy. So the social health is also important. So you need to maintain social relationships. But over a period of time, your social relations will be replaced by devotee friends.
Okay.
Friends who are practicing Krishna consciousness, friends who are practicing Bhakti Yoga. I mean, when we go to temple, we also discuss some general topics. We have some social life in the temple. It's not that all the time we go to temple, we only discuss about Krishna Katha. So we discuss general topics also. So you find your social life in the temple circle also.
Okay.
So don't be discouraged by what you are doing. So keep continuing to attend your parties and share your experiences from time to time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, here the question, the purport Prabhupada is like we have to the difficulties usually arises from having this severe family relationships to give up the connection of wife and children.
Yeah.
This is during the last stage of Varnashram.
Yeah.
During the
Sannyasa order life. Yeah.
But how do we prepare for that?
So the preparation for that is Vanaprastha. So Vanaprastha is like retirement. So when a man reaches 50 years of age, so he should take up Vanaprastha life. So Vanaprastha means man leaves the home by entrusting the wife to the elder children. It can be ideally son. If not son, then daughter is also fine. So the grown-up children who are earning some income and who are capable of taking care of the mother. So the man can leave the home by entrusting the wife to the children, and then start living away from the house, separately, downsizing everything and in a small house, and then leading a vanaprastha life. So that's the preparation for sannyasa order. So in vanaprastha life, the man still has some relation or some connection, some interaction with the family. Once in a while, he meets with the family, and then he also participates in some family events, but not as often as he used to do when he was living in the house. So once in a while, occasionally, any important event, the man can still participate in the family events and maintain interactions and relations with the family to a limited degree. And after practicing vanaprastha life for a few years, 10 to 15 years, then he can take up sannyasa life. So Harivilas Maharaj in the temple, right now he is in vanaprastha stage. So even though he's in vanaprastha stage, so he still, the wife lives in a different house, and husband lives in Harivilas Maharaj, he lives in the temple. But when they both meet, they talk. It's not like when they meet, oh, I don't know who you are. It's not like that. So when they both meet, they talk. And recently, they performed their daughter's marriage in Vrindavan. So they both together performed the marriage. Yeah, so that they perform these events, but they're not so attached to the family. And after practicing it for 10 to 15 years, they can take up sannyasa order of life. And some people, straight from brahmachari ashram, they can go to sannyasa ashram. Who are not gruhasthas, right? People who do not become gruhasthas, who do not get married and do not become gruhasthas. So straight from brahmachari ashram they can go to sannyasa ashram. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So the saffron brahmachari can become saffron sannyasi. Yeah. Whereas the saffron brahmachari, after few years of becoming a brahmachari, they can choose whether they want to change the ashram to gruhastha ashram, whether they want to get married, or they can continue becoming brahmachari and then eventually becoming a sannyasi. Yeah. But once a person becomes gruhastha, obviously they cannot go back to brahmachari. Yeah. But yeah, after practicing brahmacharyam for some time, if they're not able to maintain it, and if they need like a family environment to progress nicely on the path of Bhakti Yoga, they can get married and they can have family. And then eventually they can go to Vanaprastha ashram and then sannyasa. So the point that Prabhupada mentioned about sannyasa order of life, saying that it is the most difficult thing among all the 4 ashramas, right? Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, sannyasa, gruhastha. Among all the 4 ashramas, sannyasa ashrama is the most difficult one. It's more painful one. So why Prabhupada mentioned this one is to say that if we learn to tolerate small things in life, then we can learn to tolerate big things like sannyasa order of life. And then eventually we'll be able to tolerate death. Death is the most dangerous or most painful thing that can happen to anyone. So whoever is practicing tolerance, they become eligible for liberation. So that's the essence of this shloka. Next, 2.16. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha
Shri Bhagavan
Bhagavanuvacha
Asato Vidyate Bhavo
Nasato Vidyate Bhavo
Nabhavo Vidyate Sataha
Nabhavo
Bhavo
Vidyate
Vidyate
Sataha
Sataha
Vayorapi Drustontas
Ubayorapi
Api
Drishtontas
Drushtantas
Vanayostatvadarshibihi
Svanayostattvadarshibhihi.
Na, never. Asata, of the non-existent. Vidyate, there is. Bhava, endurance. Na, never. Abhava, changing quality. Vidyate, there is. Sataha, of the eternal. Ubayo, of the two. Api, verily. Drashta, observed. Anta, conclusion. Tu, indeed. Anayo, of them. Tattva, of the truth. Darshibihi, by the seers. Translation: those who are seers of the truth have concluded that of the non-existent, the material body, there is no endurance, and the eternal, and of the eternal, the soul, there is no change. This they have concluded by studying the nature of both. Okay. Okay, Ashok, you want to recite the shloka?
Yes, Guruji. Nasato vidyate bhavo
Nasato vidyate bhavo
vidyate sataha
na bhavo
Nabhavo
vidyate
Vidyate
sataha
Sataha
tas
ubayorapi
Ubayorapi
drishtontas
Drishtontas
panayos
tattvadarshibhihi
panayos.
Svanayostattvadarshibhihi.
Okay, Aparna.
Nasato vidyate bhavo
Nasato
Nasato Vidyate Bhavo
Nabhavo vidyate sataha
na bhavo
Nabhavo Vidyate
sataha
Sataha
Drishtontas
ubayo
Ubayorapi
drishtontas
Drishtontas
Tattvadarshibhihi
panayos.
Svanayostattvadarshibhihi.
Okay, Rahul.
Nasato Vidyate Bhavo
Nasato vidyate bhavo
Nabhavo Vidyate Sataha
na bhavo vidyate sataha
Ubayorapi Drishtontas
ubayorapi drishtontas
Tvanayostattvadarshibhihi.
panayos tattvadarshibhihi. Venugopal.
Nasato Vidyate Bhavo
Nasato
Nasato
vidyate
Vidyate
bhavo
Bhavo
Na Bhavo Vidyate Sataha
na bhavo
Nabhavo
vidyate
Vidyate
sataha
Sataha
Ubayorapi Drushtontas
Ubayorapi
drishtontas
Drishtontas
Panayostattva Darshibihi.
panayos
Tvanayostattvadarshibhihi.
Purport. There is no endurance of the changing body, that the body is changing every moment by the actions and reactions of different cells is admitted by modern medical science. And thus, growth and old age are taking place in the body. But the spirit soul exists permanently, remaining the same despite all changes of the body and the mind. That is the difference between matter and spirit. By nature, the body is ever changing, and the soul is eternal. This conclusion is established by all classes of seers of the truth. both impersonalist and personalist. In the Vishnu Purana, it is stated that Vishnu and his abodes all have self-illuminated spiritual existence. Jyotimsi Vishnur Bhuvanani Vishnuhu. The words existent and non-existent refer only to spirit and matter. That is the version of all seers of the truth. That is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. In the Vedanta Sutras, as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Supreme has been accepted as the origin of all emanations. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between the energy and the energetic is accepted as the Supreme, and the energy or nature is accepted as the subordinate. The living entities, therefore, are always subordinate to the Supreme Lord, as in the case of the master and the servant, or the teacher and the taught. Such clear knowledge is impossible to understand under the spell of ignorance. And to drive away such ignorance, the Lord teaches Bhagavad Gita for the enlightenment of the living entities for all time. Okay. So, nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, ubayorapi drishtontas tvanayos tattvadarshibhihi. So here Krishna is re-establishing the eternality of the spirit soul and the temporary nature of the matter. So the words here, Sat and Asat. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha, vayorapi drishtonta tanayos tattvadarshibhihi. So in the first two lines, there is Sat and Asat. In the second line, the last word is Sat. And the shloka begins with Asat. So Sat and Asat can have two different meanings. The word Sat can have two different meanings. Sat means eternality, and it can also mean knowledge. Can also, yeah. Yes, Rahul.
Prabhuji, I said truth.
Truth, yes, yeah. So Sat also means truth, okay? But in this in the context of this shloka here, Sat can have two meanings. One is eternal, and the other one is knowledge. And the opposite of Sat is Asat. It can have two opposite meanings: temporary and ignorance. So eternal and temporary, knowledge and ignorance. So these are the two different meanings of Sat and Asat in this context. Yeah, Sat also means true, but in this context, it is eternal and knowledge. So here, when Krishna says Of the non-existent, there is no endurance, and of the eternal, there is no change. So it just appears as if Krishna is giving is giving some vocabulary, right? So he's giving some words and explaining the meaning of that. I mean, non-existent. Obviously, it means there's no endurance. I mean, nothing permanent, and eternal means there is no change. Krishna doesn't have to specifically say that. If Krishna is trying to say the vocabulary meaning of eternal and temporary, I mean, if you look at the literal translation, it appears as if Krishna is giving simple vocabulary there, explaining the meaning of these two words. But no, there is a deeper meaning than simple, straightforward meaning here. So in other words, it appears as if tautology is used here. We discussed tautology, right, in Madhuri's home. when I ask a question, somebody says something, and other person, he just uses replies the same thing in different words. So that's tautology. So no, Krishna is not doing tautology here. And also, if you look at the framing of the words, that it's very interesting. Nasato vidyate bhavo, nabhavo vidyate sataha. So these are two sentences. The second sentence, the parts or elements in the second sentence, they are inversed from the first sentence. So the first sentence begins with nasato, but the second sentence, it ends with sata. Nasato vidyate bhavo. First sentence ends with bhavo. Second sentence, it begins with nabhavo. So in English, there is something called as chiasmus. Chiasmus means chiasmus. Chiasmus, it's something related to grammar. Okay. Chiasmus means when the parts of the second sentence are the inverse of the parts in the first sentence, that is called chiasmus. So here in the first sentence, first nasato, asato, and then bhavo. In the second sentence, abhavo and asata. For example, have you ever heard of anything like this? The parts in the second sentence are the inverse of the parts in the first sentence.
And in some poems to match, they do that. I don't know what the term is, chiasmus, but if you read poems, you can see that.
Yeah. So even the same thing here. Now Krishna is also, Bhagavad Gita is a song. So he tried to present all the shlokas in a poetic way. But in the common day-to-day usage, have you ever heard of anything like this? Chiasmus. Not in English? I'm sure you all heard about it.
The words being interchanged.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
I've heard that for the term, the chiasmus.
Yeah. So for example, the most famous quotation, right? I think by Martin Luther King or somebody. Ask not what the country can do for you. Ask what you can do for the country. So in the first sentence, ask what not the country can do for you. So first country, then you. In the second sentence, ask what you can do for the country. So they are inversed. The two parts of the sentence, they are inversed. So the sentence is like that. Nasato vidyate bhavo, na bhavo vidyate sataha. So chiasmus. And the spelling does not start with K. Chiasmus word, it's not with K. It is CHIASMUS. Chiasmus. CHIASMUS.
Cell biology, we have chiastic phase. mitotic.
In biology?
Yeah, but it splits into two cells.
Oh.
Stage is called and this becomes sister cell. It's called chiasma.
Okay.
I just asked Google Brad.
You ask Google what?
Brad, I just typed like chiasmus with the wrong word in English, and it gave me the correct one.
Oh, it corrected the? Okay.
Gave me the definition.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So Sat means eternal and knowledge. Asat means temporary and ignorance. In the purport, Prabhupada is saying that the seers of all sampradayas, they have seen this truth, both impersonalists and personalists. But there's a difference. So the impersonalists, they say, Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. Have you heard this?
Yes.
Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya. So they say Brahma Satyam means only Brahman is eternal. Everything else is false. Jagan Mithya. Mithya means false. Only everything else is false. They say even our life is false. They say we are not living actually. Whatever the life we are living, it's illusion. They say it's not real. But it is real. It is real but temporary. So that's the difference between impersonalists and personalists. So impersonalists, they say Jagan Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. Jagan Mithya means this world is Mithya. It's illusion. No, it is not illusion. If somebody throws a stone on you, you get hurt and you start crying. You can't say, oh, Brahma Satyam, Jagan Mithya. So the world is real but temporary.
What do they say? We are a perverted reality of the spiritual world.
That we say that. We say that. Bhakti yogis say that. So we are, everything in the material world is a perverted reflection of things in the spiritual world. So whatever is in the spiritual world is here. Or whatever you see here, it is in the spiritual world. But it is in a perverted reflection.
What about the bad things?
Yeah, even the bad things. Like for example, anger. Anger in general is perceived as a bad thing, right? So anger is there in spiritual world also. Anger is there in spiritual world to enhance the rasa. To enhance the rasa in the relation. For example, when Radharani is serving Krishna and other gopis are serving Krishna. So sometimes Radharani gets angry on other gopis. Sometimes Radharani gets envious of other gopis. Or other gopis get envious of Radharani. When Krishna is showing a lot of attention, giving a lot of attention to Radharani, other gopis, they become envious. Or when the gopis are trying to compete with Radharani to serve Krishna better, Radharani gets angry. So all these, the so-called bad things in the material world, they are also there in spiritual world, but they help enhance the relationship. Yeah.
They don't get envious towards Krishna, right, Prabhuji?
No, they don't get envious towards Krishna.
Yeah. If they did, they would fall down on this material planet, right?
Yeah. So they get envious of other devotees when they see that other devotees are competing with them to serve Krishna in a better way. And then out of that enviousness to other devotees, they try to increase their level of service to Krishna. So everything is to enhance the rasa and service.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
But Prabhuji, we all got envious and we fell down. Krishna.
We became envious of Krishna. So here, the gopis, the enviousness is only between gopis and Radharani. Yeah, between themselves. Yeah. So going back to that point, right? The difference between what impersonalists think and personalists think. So it is real. The material world is real, but it is temporary. So just like in a dream, if somebody gets a dream that a tiger is chasing them, so we cannot say that it is false. It is true. It is true. A person had a dream and the tiger was chasing. That's why he got scared and he woke up all of a sudden. So it was real. It was not temper. It was not false. Whatever he saw in the dream, it was real. So just like how things happened in the dream, they were real but temporary. Our life in the material world, ever since we left the spiritual world and have gone through millions of lifetimes in the material world, everything is temporary. It is real, but everything is temporary. Just like how things happen in the dream. And even in that shloka, right? Asatoma Jyotirmaya, Tamasoma, Asatoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirmaya. Asatoma Satoma Sadgamaya, Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So they both mean pretty much the same actually. Let there be light to dispel the darkness of ignorance. Both mean the same. They constructed in a different sentences to emphasize the same meaning. So there also they say, right? Asatoma Sadgamaya. And Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya. So let the knowledge, let the light of knowledge dispel the darkness of ignorance. Similarly, the Sat and Asat, by cultivating knowledge, one can dispel the darkness of ignorance, the Asat. The second paragraph of the purport, Prabhupada says, this is the beginning of the instruction by the Lord to the living entities who are bewildered by the influence of ignorance. Removal of ignorance involves the re-establishment of the eternal relationship between the worshipper and the worshipable, and the consequent understanding of the difference between the part and parcel living entities and the Supreme Personality of Godhead. One can understand the nature of the Supreme by thorough study of oneself. The difference between oneself and the Supreme Being understood as the relationship between the part and the whole. So when we say that let the light of knowledge dispel the darkness of ignorance, so in the context of Bhagavad Gita, that knowledge begins with an understanding of the soul, with an understanding of the fact that we are the soul and not the body, and then understand about the super soul. And then the third level is understand the relationship between soul and super soul, or relationship between Jiva and Jiva and Bhagavan. And Prabhupada explains in the purport how one must understand this relationship between Jivatma and Bhagavan is by thinking that Jivatma is a part and parcel of the whole. And that whole is Bhagavan. Just like how different parts of the body, the hands and legs, they help the body as a whole. Now, if one part of the body, let's say one hand, thinks that okay, I'm independent of this body, and I can be happy, I can do things on my own. No, I don't need to serve the body. Then what happens? That hand suffers and the body also suffers. Similarly, if the Jivatma as a part of the whole, as Bhagavan, does not cooperate with Bhagavan, the Jivatma suffers and the Lord also suffers. Because the Lord as the parent, the supreme father of all living entities, he also suffers if the child is not with him. So Prabhupada is emphasizing more about the relationship between the living entities and Krishna. If one understands the relationship between the living entities and Krishna, then we can dispel the ignorance. Then we can dispel the ignorance, asat. Okay.
Would you had a question about the Paramatma that lives within us?
Yeah.
What is the evidence of that? Because if you're trying to pray to Krishna with doing the super soul,
Yeah.
or are we praying to Krishna who's in Vrindavan versus the Krishna who lives within us?
Okay.
So my question is like, what is the evidence that Krishna is the one we're praying to versus the Krishna up in Vrindavan?
So what is the proof that the Paramatma is none other than Krishna himself?
Right, yeah. Or what is the evidence that he is the same person?
What is the evidence that he is the same person? Bhagavad Gita, in many verses, Krishna said, I exist in everyone's heart as Paramatma. Chapter 15, Shloka 15, 15.15. Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. Hridi sannivishto. Hridi means hridaya, heart. Sarvasya chaham. Sarvasya means of all living entities. In all living entities. I exist in all living entities in their hearts. And that is none other than Paramatma. So other than the soul, who else resides in the heart region? It is Super Soul, Paramatma. So Krishna himself is saying that Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. I exist in everyone's heart. So Krishna himself is saying. That is one shloka. And then there are few other shlokas. In chapter 18 or somewhere. (18.61). Yeah, 18.61. Ishvara sarva bhutanam hriddeshe Arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra rudani mayaya. So Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, sarva bhutanam, in all living entities, hriddeshe, in the hearts, Arjuna, tishtati, dwells. The translation is, the Supreme Lord dwells in the hearts of all living entities. So this is another shloka where Krishna is saying that he dwells in all the living entities. So 18.61, 15.15, 18.61. There are a couple of other verses actually.
Practical evidence in how we talked about is the evidence of soul. We had discussion. Unless you realize it through text, reading these books and literature, is there other evidence?
Yeah, we also we discussed this also a few times. Just like how we can understand anything that is subtle in the material world by looking at its symptoms. Anything subtle, we can understand or we can acknowledge its presence by looking at its symptoms. For example, air. We can't see air. It's a very subtle thing. But we can understand and we can acknowledge that air exists by looking at its symptoms. Like when the leaves are moving, when the branches are moving, when the wind is blowing, looking at these symptoms, we can understand that air exists. Similarly, any subtle thing, we can understand and acknowledge the presence of the subtle thing by looking at its symptoms. Soul. So how do we understand the presence of soul? By looking at its symptoms. And what is the symptom of the soul? Consciousness. So wherever there is activity like chetana, that means there is a presence of consciousness. And that consciousness is coming from soul. So just like that, we can understand or acknowledge the presence of super soul by looking at its symptoms. And one example that we discussed was about the thieves, right? Did we discuss that in this class, or did I discuss that in the morning class? Anyway, the example is when a thief is trying to steal something. So what happens to the thief? What does the thief think? What goes on in his mind? I think we discussed in this class something.
Yeah, the Paramatma
Everyone replied
reminds him of the truth.
And I think one person, either Ashok or somebody, they said, I don't know. because you never you never stole anything. Yeah, Rahul, you're saying something, right? Go ahead.
Yeah, so the Paramatma reminds the thieves of what is right and what is wrong and what is truth and things like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
We keep getting reminded of that.
Yeah. So every thief, before they, when they are stealing something, they feel guilty. They feel guilty, and something from within tells them that this is wrong. But still, they keep doing that for their livelihood. They keep doing that. But every time they do that, they feel guilty, and that is coming from within, nothing but super soul.
I just wanted to clarify that voice, inner voice we have is the Paramatma.
Yeah, it is Paramatma. Yeah, that is Paramatma.
And it doesn't matter whether you believe in Paramatma.
Yeah.
That voice inside is Paramatma.
Yes. Yeah. And also, we have heard about many cases where the police were able to catch the culprit no matter where he is, right? Let's say some robbery or some murder happens in some part of Seattle, and the culprit happens to be in Chicago or somewhere, and the police is able to catch. How? How is that even possible? Huh?
Intelligence services.
Intelligence services. So if you think seriously, it is technically impossible to find the culprit, who is somewhere in some part of the world. So it is the super soul agency that is facilitating this. It is a super soul agency that is facilitating this. Without the help of super soul agency, it is impossible. Impossible to find the culprit. I mean that there are some tools and there is a process to investigate and find the culprit. But if you analyze deeply, it is almost impossible to find the culprit. It's almost impossible. A person has done something here in Seattle, and he has flown to Chicago. So how can they even find? I mean, it is agreed that they leave some clues and some evidence, but still, how do they find that that person is in Chicago or somewhere else in other part of the world? They found Osama bin Laden in. So what is the clue, and how on the earth anybody could find a person like that who has hidden in some place like that? So it is the super soul agency, nothing else. So these are the symptoms to prove the existence of super soul. They call intuition, gut feeling, right? There's nothing but super soul. Yeah. Listen to your heart, all these things.
It's not the soul that's talking.
No, it's not the soul. It is the super soul. Yeah.
Prabhuji, I did not understand in the second paragraph.
Yeah.
Prabhupada is saying that in the Vedanta Sutras as well as in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the
Yeah.
Supreme had been accepted as the origin of all emanations.
Yeah.
Until that, I understood. So after that, this line says, such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences.
Mm-hmm.
What is natural sequences? What is like trying to explain here, Prabhuji?
Such emanations means like avataras, okay? Expansions or avataras, incarnations, are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. Sequences. The living entities belong to the superior nature, as it will be revealed in the 7th chapter. Although there is no difference between energy of the energetic. Yeah. So here Prabhupada is explaining that so Krishna is the supreme, and he is the origin of all emanations, and such emanations are experienced by superior and 1 second, I'm getting phone. That's okay. Such emanations are experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. So if you understand things, how things were, how things happened in the creation, right? So first it was Krishna, and then Krishna expanded himself into Mahavishnu, who was lying down in the Kajal ocean. And then from the navel of Mahavishnu comes a lotus stem, and from the lotus flower, Lord Brahma appears. And Brahma creates all other living entities. So here, when Prabhupada says superior and inferior natural sequences, it refers to the creation of the superior beings and inferior human beings like us.
Which has a sequence. Okay.
Yeah. So first superior being means first Brahma. And then Brahma created all other inferior beings. And we all experienced it, like I come from my father comes from his father, his father comes from his father, and so on. So we all experienced these sequences, and originally Lord Brahma experienced his creation from Mahavishnu. In Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3 explains all about the creation, how the material world was created, how Lord Brahma was created, and how Lord Brahma created living entities. So all of this is explained in Canto 3, the Vedic cosmology.
So Lord Vishnu is creating several hundreds of Brahmas, right?
So Mahavishnu, when he is lying down in the causal ocean, whenever he is breathing, as he exhales, a billion number of universes are created, and as he inhales, all those universes are annihilated. Okay? And in each of the universes that are created, that Mahavishnu enters into each of those universes, and Lord Brahma is created in each of those universes. Yes, you are right. Mahavishnu creates innumerable number of universes, and in each of those universes, Lord Brahma is created.
So it means there is another parallel universe running along with our...
Yeah, not only one. There are innumerable number of universes. Billions of universes. Unlimited.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I have a question not related to Gita or anything. So, have you encountered anything like aliens or UFOs, UAPs in your research over the years?
Or have I seen aliens? Have I seen aliens?
No, if you might have seen, you would have already told us by now.
No, I never researched about aliens, and I was curious before reading Bhagavad Gita. I was curious, whether aliens do really exist or not. I was curious. But after reading Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, I know that there are innumerable number of universes, and there is life in every universe. There are innumerable number of living entities in every universe. So it is not only one or two aliens as we see in the movies, but there are innumerable number of aliens, innumerable number of UFOs. Yeah, innumerable number.
And they visit our Earth time to time.
Yes. Yeah.
They don't have an explanation how they built the pyramids.
How?
They built the pyramids.
How they build the pyramids.
Scientists don't have an explanation.
Yeah.
They say it's like some technology which is lost. Similarly, we don't know. Even though they can visit us,
yeah,
they might be as invisible.
Yeah, we don't know. It can be a demigod or,
or even demons.
Yeah, we don't know. Yeah.
Because you see from childhood, you hear about all these demigods coming and visiting.
Yeah.
And they take the form of a human and they walk around. And that's why I asked you the question, like, do demigods visit us? And you said in Jagannath Puri.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm very interested to see a demigod.
So go and live in Jagannath Puri and every day go to the temple. One fine day you'll see some demigods. You might see Indra, Varuna, Vayu.
Maybe they are invisible to our material eyes, I don't know.
No, they are visible to our material eyes, but they come in the if in the okay. So they come in the night time when the Jagannath Puri temple is closed for darshan for regular visitors. They visit in the night time. So you're not allowed that time.
Prabhuji, also they say that Krishna's heart in Jagannath's deity, it's still beating. How true is that, Prabhuji?
Krishna's heart is beating in Jagannath's deity.
And they change the deity every 12 years or so.
Yeah, they change the deity every 12 years. It's made out of wood. They change it every 12 years. So I don't know what explanation should I give about Krishna's heart, beating in Jagannath's deity. Maybe I'll research and I'll get back to you on that. Yeah. But yeah, Jagannath is special. He is very special. There are many pastimes where Jagannath as deity reciprocated to devotees. There are many stories. Yeah.
Have any devotees seen Krishna?
Oh, yeah, many.
Like in person?
Yeah, many.
Okay.
Yeah. Prabhupada himself saw Krishna when he was sailing in the cargo ship to America. When he survived 3 heart attacks, Krishna came personally and he massaged Prabhupada's head. So he saw Krishna. Yeah.
Prabhu, one question related to Jagannath temple.
Yeah.
I saw in Hyderabad. Sometimes I saw 3 deities.
Okay.
Sometimes I saw only 2. They will take one actually from the temple for a certain period of time. But here in temple, I always see Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, Maharani all the time. So
yeah. No, even here also during September time, during the Jagannath Radayatra time, we take 3 of them, Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra, to a different place. And then on the day of Radayatra, we bring them to the place where we do the Radayatra festival. And then again in the evening, bring them back to the temple. It happens here also. The deities are taken away from the temple for about a week or so.
So I saw only 1 deity was taken out of 3 in Jagannath temple in Hyderabad.
Okay, no, all 3 of them. They take all 3 of them. Yeah. Yeah, then they come back. So here they keep deities in different devotees form here. Yeah. So what they do is before the Radayatra, 1 week before the Radayatra, they do something called Snana Yatra. So they give Abhishekam to the Lord Jagannath, Baldev and Subhadra. They bring the deities from the altar and put them on a proper asana and then do Abhishekam. So that is Snana Yatra. So it is believed that during that Snana Yatra, Jagannath becomes sick. And that's why they take the 3 deities to Gundicha temple in Jagannath Puri, or here to a different devotee's home, and then they do all the services, just like how a mother serves the child when the child gets sick. So they put them with nice blankets and a heater and all those things. So they treat Jagannath deities like their own children, and they just do whatever the mother does when the child gets sick. Yeah. Yeah. And then after 1 week, Jagannath gets better. And then they take the deities onto the Radham. After the festival, after the Radha Yatra festival, they bring the deities back to the temple. So, okay. Next shloka 2.18. 17, yeah. Wow, it's a long purport. Okay, so it's already 7. Maybe we can do this in the next class. Yeah, we'll continue in the next class. So before we wrap up, any questions, comments, or anything?
Just one question. So when Mahavishnu is actually creating several hundreds of universes, so is it something like the sun and moon also specific to that universe?
Yes. Yeah, every universe has sun and moon.
Okay. So they can, so that they can try landing on that sun and moon.
What do they mean? They can try landing on the sun and moon.
No, so they actually when different countries are trying to land their spaceships on moon and also they were saying some object came in between and then that's why it got caught there, it blasted. So that's why I'm thinking, so different universes are trying parallelly.
No, first of all, within the same universe, it is technically impossible to go to the moon. Now, you all heard that Neil Armstrong stepped on the moon, right? So that is actually not true. Yeah.
There is an actual video. There is Neil Armstrong of the Sergeant. In one of the interviews, he was saying there were cameras and everything.
Yeah.
He did not say like they cut short the
Yeah.
Actually, it exists.
Yeah.
There's an actual clip where they say, he says like a couple of words, he will say there is like all the video cameras recording, everything was there.
Yeah.
And they abruptly changed the topic.
Yeah. Yeah, he never went to the moon. He went to some place and somehow the propaganda began that he landed in moon. And that's how we are all believing it. So otherwise, how do you know that he has actually landed on moon?
But what about all the other people?
No, they went to some place. They went to some place in the space, and they're calling it as moon.
No.
So Prabhupada clearly says, it is impossible to go to moon in this human body. I mean, they wear all the astronaut dresses and everything. They create some ambience and some mechanism. But still, it is impossible to go to moon or sun in this body. Because the atmosphere on each and every planet, the atmosphere on moon planet is different from earthly planet. Atmosphere on sun planet is different from earthly planet. And you require a specific body to be able to live in that planet. You cannot live in the same body in a different planet. So Venugopal, when you said they are trying to land in the sun and moon in different universes, that is impossible. Okay. It is impossible.
I thought if all universes are sharing the same sun and moon, when one universe is actually trying to land on the moon, maybe the second people from second universe is actually, they are also trying at the same time, and that's why they are collapsing. So
No, they are not
something.
sure. Each universe has its separate sun and moon.
Okay.
Each universe has its separate sun and moon, and it is not possible to go to another universe from this universe. What to speak of another universe? Even within the universe, you cannot go from one planet to another planet in the same body.
Okay, so whoever is trying now, they are all going to fail.
They have already failed. It's not the question of they are going to fail. They have already failed. And they have already failed and they are fooling us that they have succeeded.
Okay.
So you can only go to a different planet, like heavenly planet. It's a different planet, right? Earthly planet is in the lower planetary system, and heavenly planet is a higher planetary system, or Patala Loka is the lower planetary system, even lower than earthly planet system. You can go to these different planets only after death. If you do punya karma, then you go to heavenly planets. If you do papa karma, you go to lower planetary systems. But you don't go in the same body, right? When you go to heavenly planet, you are given a different body. When you go to Patala Loka, you are given a different body. Similarly, how can you go to moon planet? It's a different planet altogether. So nobody has gone to moon planet so far. It's a big eye opener, right? Yeah.
Since to me, what they show is actually pretty far.
Yeah.
To give an example, if we are sitting here, moon might be somewhere on the way.
Yeah.
That's the distance from our moon.
Yeah. So the Neil Armstrong was the first man to step on the moon. All that is bogus.
So all the videos and documentaries which show what we got a sample from the moon rock, moon.
How do you know that it is from moon? No,
Actually, Prabhuji, I gave a presentation on the moon hoax during my engineering.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
We have an expert.
So,
Let's hear from him.
so me and couple, three more guys, we did a lot of research.
Okay.
I saw a bunch of videos and everything. Like that time, I had a lot more curiosity. I'm curious now as well, but at that time, I was maybe 10 more times curious about everything. So yeah, but my professor, she like denied it. She was a Telugu person. So after seeing the title of the presentation, she got shook and she was like, "Mari moon ki ellina vallu aleni uttigne." She started speaking in Telugu during my presentation. She was that shook. So we yeah, Prabhuji,
Which university?
which Osmania University.
Osmania University. Okay.
Yeah, so but we managed to convince a few of my friends and other students, but it's still a controversy, right, Prabhuji? Like the main we can argue that it has been maybe 60, 70 years that people have like claimed to like go on the moon and walk on the moon, right?
Yeah.
Then why didn't they do it again? Like,
Yeah,
why is
exactly.
it so difficult to go now? And
If they have done so when the technology was not in, at its peak, Neil Armstrong, when was that? 1700s sometime? So,
yeah, 1970s or something.
yeah, even with poor technology or limited technology, he was able to do that. Why can't they do it now?
But they have recent documentaries where they send the robots and all that there. The robot is in the sand and coming back. They're doing examination. I mean,
Going to-
this is me and watching documentaries.
Yeah,
I
yeah. Yeah, you haven't gone to moon, right?
I haven't watched it. And I don't. But they plan people to go on the moon because they don't have enough space, or try to throw the unwanted wanted garbage. They have all these plans.
Yeah.
to protect
So
them.
even this is like the dark side of the moon, they don't have a clear picture of that.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking the moon rotates, the moon does not rotate. So
Mhm.
whatever we see, it's just one half of it.
Mm.
So we never see the other side of the moon.
Okay.
Yeah.
They don't have the clear picture what is on the dark side of the moon.
Okay. Yeah. See, that is another thing. We can't even see the full moon, and now they have claimed that they have landed on the moon, and we are all
But
believing.
but Prabhuji, there are a few companies they are starting like tourism on moon.
Uh-huh.
So the first step is they'll go and like uh, leave their satellites to rotate on the moon. That's the first step. Once they achieve that, they'll try to land it, and they'll start a small colony and start the tourism on moon.
Okay.
So maybe to debunk whatever theories, controversies are going on, someone should go to the moon and prove everyone that is it possible or not. Because yeah, if we like speak about this topic in the main uh, media or for the normal common people,
Yeah.
everyone needs proof, right, Prabhuji? Like if we deny, we also need proof to like deny. We can like claim our shastras and everything, but they
Yeah.
will still ask us like, did you go to the moon? How do you prove it? And things like that. So also the videos Mataji is saying that they have documentaries, videos going to the moon, stepping on the moon. So there are a few mistakes they did, like the American flag it was waving uh, in the video, but there is vacuum on the moon, so there shouldn't be any air.
Yeah.
So
So how was the
that's
flag
one.
waving, right? How was the flag
So
waving?
that's one I remember. And also the astronauts have the suit has like a reflective glass.
Hmm.
So one of them was taking a picture of the other astronaut, and the reflective glass shows cameras uh, or something like that. So I remember those two proofs to
Hmm.
debunk that theory.
Hmm.
Yeah, I can remember those two. But after my engineering period, I went on to like look at other things and like newer scientists talking about the moon,
Yeah.
like the landing on the moon. But
Hmm.
most of the mainstream scientists, they believe that the moon landing happened, and
Yeah.
works are on the way to like do more stuff on the
Yeah.
moon.
Yeah. They believe that, but it is again empirical, right? Based on the data that's available, they believe that they have someone else has gone to the moon, and it is possible to go to the moon. But as Rahul said, why if they had gone to the moon like several years ago, several hundred years ago, why can't they go now? With so much of advanced technology, why can't they go now? There should be a shuttle between Earth and Moon.
That's $1 million question.
lunch on the Earth and dinner in Moon. There should be a shuttle like that. And
So
Elon,
Prabhuji, I wanted to know like what does the Shastra say? Like why can't we go and like survive on the moon?
you need a different body. You
Okay.
can't go the same body to a different planet. We understand, right? Heavenly planet, Svargaloka, it's totally different
Yeah.
body. Patala Loka is a different body. They are two different planets. So when we can easily understand that we need different body in Svargaloka and Patala Loka, why not in Moon planet or Mars? Now Elon Musk is sending everyone to Mars. The question is, why Elon Musk is not going first? He should be the first one going, right? Why is he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. He can be headlined in the newspapers, just like how Neil Armstrong was the first person to land in moon. Elon Musk, first person to land in Mars. Why is he losing that privilege? Why is he giving that privilege to someone else? Because he knows that he knows that people cannot go to Mars. So, or he knows that even if somebody tries to go to Mars, they will not survive. So he doesn't want to risk his life by trying to go to Mars. So now Prabhupada, so as it is explained in this purport, right? Krishna is the origin of all the emanations, and all these emanations have been experienced by superior and inferior natural sequences. So Prabhupada, because he can see the transcendental vision. The scientists are seeing things from material vision, but Prabhupada is able to see things from a transcendental vision. So he can see. He can say who can go to moon and who cannot go to moon. Only Narada Muni can go to moon. Not me, not Rahul, not Venugopal.
Maybe Prabhuji, we can go astrally on different planets, right? Like without the material body, we might travel with the causal body or the
subtle body.
Yeah, subtle body.
Yeah.
That might be possible.
Yes, astral travels are possible. Yeah, that's a different phenomena. And there are evidences also, very rare incidents, but there are astral body traveling to different planets and coming back with some experiences. It is like near-death experience, right? Somebody, seeing the death almost from so close and coming back alive. So like that, astral body experiences are there. Yeah.
Prabhuji, so I had two topics for my presentation back then. One was moon hoax, and the other one was the 7-Eleven conspiracy theory. So I don't know why I was inclined to conspiracy theories.
Yeah.
So what is your take on I got your take on the moon hoax. So what is your take on the 7-Eleven bombing, Prabhuji? Like, was it the US government itself, or was it actually a terrorist attack?
I don't know, not me. I did not do anything. That much I can say. As I told you, right? I'm very poor in politics and sports and cinemas, all these things. All I can say is it was not me. Yeah.
There's a huge conspiracy about that.
Yes. Yeah. No, he's asking straightforward question. Was it US government who did that, or yeah, no, I don't know. I did not research. But it's interesting, you. So when was that that you wrote this research paper on moon hoax?
Not a research paper, Prabhuji. It was a task in engineering first year for I think English or English, the subject English. We had to give a presentation to the entire class.
Okay.
So everyone was we were given topics, or we can choose whatever topic we wanted.
Okay.
So everyone was like taking environment or anarchy or socialism or something. We were choosing conspiracy theories, and we went with moon hoax.
Okay. So, and you did this before you even came into Krishna consciousness?
Actually, I was in talks with one Prabhuji in Krishna consciousness in ISKCON.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I got to know about ISKCON during book distribution itself.
Okay.
So they came to our college, and yeah, that's how.
So you knew about Prabhupada statement saying that Neil Armstrong did not go to moon?
Yeah, I've heard this before.
Okay.
The other Prabhuji.
Okay. Yeah. Good learning today. Eh? Yeah.
Even today I was discussing with my wife like the water evaporation and the rain.
Mhm.
Couple of shlokas in chapter 4. It's described.
Yeah.
Even before going to school, we learned that in 4th or 3rd grade or 4th grade.
Yeah.
But people who read Bhagavad Gita, even before this education system introduced, they knew about this.
Yeah.
How the rain happens,
Yeah.
the entire cycle is already described.
Yeah. The fire. Krishna explains about the fire sacrifices.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifices lead to rains.
Yeah.
Rains will give crops, and grains will give food to the living entities, and living entities survive on the grains. Cycle. Yeah, and even the cosmology that the scientists have described, right? That is all false. You read Canto 3 from Bhagavatam, Vedic cosmology, that tells the correct cosmology of the universe.
So what they know so far is false.
Is false. Yeah. So now we think that because of the scientists' efforts and everything, so many things are possible, so many things are happening in the world. But it's not true. Even if scientists are doing anything or not doing anything, they'll still happen.
So I even heard this, Prabhuji, all these movies, the sports, everything, it's all created to keep the common man busy.
Yeah.
Focused on something which is not important.
Yeah. Yeah.
So are we all
Otherwise, they'll create problems, right?
Yeah, otherwise they'll create
They'll create problems.
That's why they sporting events, movies, and all those things to just keep the population busy.
Yeah. So in the olden days, people used to engage in listening to Hari Katha and Krishna Katha by going to temple in the evening. That is how they were kept busy. But now it's a different style of keeping them busy. And in that process, they are fooling people by saying Neil Armstrong went to the moon. And Aparna believed it all this while.
And I've spent many hours watching a lot of those documentaries and cosmology and all this astrophysics, and very interesting, right? I would not be able to comprehend in my brain, but they're using all this Hubble telescope and whatnot.
Yeah.
So it's very amazing. But I guess there's no point in listening to all that.
That one also, Mataji, you are looking at the star, which was 2.5 billion
light years away, right? Yeah.
That means like it's already happened.
Yeah.
But we don't know what is exactly happening right now at that particular star.
Yeah.
So it looks like we are looking into the past, but it's like another paradox. Like, what is time? When it comes to the time, right? They say it's very relative.
Yeah.
Again, if you're looking at the star which happened 2.5 some millions of light years ago, you don't know what exactly is happening. So whether is that what's happening, what is at this point of time what's happening, we can't even see.
Yeah. It's very complicated to understand these things. And how can scientists just go to moon? Yeah.
That's what you told, right? Like,
Yeah.
We
have also been told that a Mallu guy is selling coffee or tea in the moon. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if not Prabhupada, we would be simply believing all these things, and Okay. Thank you everyone for nice discussion. We'll continue next week. Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Hare
Yeah.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yeah.
We were thinking at what to do for